Okay, so thank you so much for joining me for the second webinar on the Athletics Ireland YouTube channel. The topic I will be discussing and diving into today is body image in sport with a focus in athletics. This is aimed at all those who are involved in athletics, athletes, coaches, parents, support staff. And the main reason for doing this is that body image is something that, yes, we can work on individually, but it also needs changes to our environment and culture to support the personal improvement or growth that is being made. If the environment we are in isn't supporting athletes' body image, then it can be much more difficult to change how we feel about ourselves. So this is going to try to be quite a relaxed webinar today. I've got my coffee, just going to chill out. So sit back and relax and enjoy. Firstly, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Katie and I'm a registered sport and exercise nutritionist based in Northern Ireland. I also take time and money to educate myself further, and I've done additional training outside my degree in non-diet nutrition counselling skills, intuitive eating, eating disorders in sport, and body image work for athletes, which is obviously relevant to today. I'm committed to promoting non-diet sports nutrition messages, and this might be slightly different to what you're used to hearing. I'm also an 800-meter runner and past national champion and medalist, so I know what you're going through in some ways. However, I do not centre my professional nutrition work or opinions on my experiences, but they've resulted in me seeking out an alternative to the restrictive and dieting messages normally promoted by sports nutrition professionals, are common in the culture of athletics, and are found everywhere in non-sporting settings too. So how do I learn from this? How can you get the most out of today's session, and what have I done to encourage your learning? I think webinars online can be a little bit impersonal, particularly when they're pre-recorded like this. But we're working in the times of pandemic, and it offers unique opportunities to learn remotely that you mightn't have otherwise. It's also a cost-effective way that you can learn a little bit more about body image. But this is also a difficult time for many, and if there are any topics that are too difficult to fully engage with today, that is okay. This presentation is not intended for crazy motivation giving, but more providing a gentle nudge to making some small changes and considering beliefs about bodies and the way they are, and encourage some non-judgmental reflection on what you're currently doing. With this type of work, which is reflecting and considering our beliefs, you also need to do the work, and simply being provided with information is not enough to result in learning or changing of behaviours. Like the last session that I hosted, I will be encouraging individual reflection throughout the session, so pause the video and grab a pen or piece of paper to have handy. This will help your learning and help to relate the topics to your own life. I will also be encouraging some further actions to be taken after the time we spend together today. So what are we going to be covering, and what is the plan of action? These are kind of the general topics that we're going to be covering. My aim is to have a little bit of education on what body image might be and how you can try and define it for yourself, encourage thoughts around what it means to you, and further information on areas to do with body image, including weight stigma and body ideals in sport. This will be followed up with proactive ideas of what you can do to understand more about how you feel about your body and what can be done to improve body image on a personal level and also a cultural level. It is also important to address here what can be done as an organisation to support athletes in forming positive body image. So, our first pause of the day, I would really love for you to take this opportunity to think about what body image means to you at this point in time particularly, and what you think it means generally in terms of a group of athletes. What is it, and what words would you use to describe body image? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think you're at in terms of a good relationship, with 10 being like really body positive, or just generally kind of neutral about what your body is feeling, and 1 being body negative? This is to gauge and for you to reflect on your current understandings and definitions of what body image is. It might be beneficial to do this exercise again after the webinar and see if anything has changed based upon the information I am providing. Nothing is the wrong answer. This is simply to gather a starting point at which you can start working. So do that pause now. So what is body image? Like disordered eating and dieting that I covered last week, When we think of body image in the media, what do we think of? And is it seen as a female issue? To be honest, in the media, we usually see the beauty adverts that celebrate diversity, like the Dove adverts, and dancing around in their underwear. And kind of that would suggest, that they're comfortable in their own skin. But we also have Instagram accounts that talk about BOPO, which is a kind of new trend that means body positivity. And the real question for me is, where do men and those of non-binary or transgenders fit into this conversation? So I'm actually not going to be providing like a definition of this is what body image is. And the reason for that is that everyone experiences what body image is to them in a very, very different way. That can be different across genders, different cultural experience, athletics event, and just general personality traits as well. I really want you to work out what your personal definition is of body image is yourself. But basically, it can be thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, or actions related to our own body image or how we feel about the physical body that we live in. Can you look back on your notes from the pause 2 seconds ago and look at what body image meant to you? And can you identify any aspects that are either thoughts, beliefs, feelings, actions, and perceptions, or a mixture of them all? Are there any categories that feature more on your list or that you experience more often? Much like when I was talking about eating habits and disordered eating last week, feelings, emotions, and actions around body image are fluid. They aren't static or stay the same for every moment of the day. What can be directed is the actions taken in response to those feelings, and accepting body image is fluid and ever changing. That is why I have the little picture of a road here, because it's a journey, not a destination. I am very careful to say that the aim of this, or the aim should be to improve body image, as it really isn't about reaching that final destination of body positivity or whatever your goal is. Simply because of the nature of the sport and also the nature of our society, it is likely that the work on body image will always need to be done. Bodies, physical appearance, and how they feel internally to us change rapidly and a lot over time. So I think I learned from my webinar last week that it's a good idea to simply explain some terms and words related to body image or the topic that we're talking about. Some of the things that I talk about are quite not technical, but the words that are used in that area are very specific to that area. I'm very used to using those, but I understand not everyone is. So it might be good to explain some of these words related to body image before we start, so that you can understand what they mean. And it can also provide some clarity. And some of the words might resonate with you, and you can start using them to become your own body image boss. It's important for body image that you choose the right words to describe your personal relationship with your body. So work out which one feels the most comfortable for you and where you feel you're currently at on your journey. So body positivity. So body positivity and BOPO movement has been massive in the last couple of years. The term definitely implies loving yourself no matter what, and it kind of implies that that's at all times. But it doesn't necessarily sit well with everyone. And as I said, most people will not love their bodies all of the time. For some people, their idea of loving their body is a way off. They do not relate to that at all. So this term of body positivity can make some people feel pretty uncomfortable, and alienate those who are not currently in a good space with their body and appearance. And that is why we use the term body neutral or body neutrality. And this is kind of what I feel we should be aiming for as an organization in terms of athletics, and creating a body neutral environment for our athletes. So I like to describe body neutrality, or being body neutral, as just feeling generally neutral and equal about your body and the external appearance of it. So for example, it doesn't influence how we feel about ourselves, and we understand that it has no bearing on our values or us as a person. It just means that we aren't thinking about our bodies 24/7, and this gives us space to get on with life, and also acknowledges that we don't have to feel positive about our bodies. We can feel neutral. So then weight neutral is a term that is used to describe kind of like body neutrality, but more to do with like maybe the number that is seen on the scale. And this is the umbrella that I tend to work under. Like body neutrality or body neutral, it is the acceptance that the number on the scale or the size of our bodies has no bearing on us as people, our values, personalities, or ability to perform in the sport that we do. It is based on the research showing that weight is largely genetically predetermined, and changing our body size in the long term is not really possible and can have negative performance and life consequences for athletes. In terms of nutrition work, this means that I don't center or encourage weight loss and treat clients fairly and equally independent of their body size. So body appreciation goes along the same vein of neutrality, but means being grateful for all the things our bodies do for us, like how they move for us, house us, and are basically pretty smart. So body respect, this is the idea that even when we aren't feeling 100% happy with our bodies, we still respect it by giving the basic needs to survive and provide it with the things that it needs. So maybe appropriate food and rest, but can also include seeking medical help when unwell and general basic self-care, which can be as simple as brushing your teeth, showering, or taking medication that's prescribed for you. I have also another term which we're going to be going through in a bit, but I will go through that in a couple of slides. So which of these terms feel right for you to describe what you want to achieve for your relationship with your body? Do you want to create an aspect of body positivity, or do you think body neutrality or weight neutral is a better approach to take for you? So body image culture in athletics. Body image in sport is influenced by many, many things, and athletes exist in both sport and society culture, and not only have to contend with the body pressures from sport, but also society body pressures too. So I want to ask the question, are all bodies deemed to be acceptable in athletics? And what are the consequences if athletes aren't meeting the body ideals set by our culture and society? What do you think is our culture when it comes to bodies? On one hand, participation in sport can be a very positive thing for body image, but research has shown that doing a sport can be protective for eating and body image issues. But that really doesn't apply to everyone, and sport that has an emphasis on leanness or lightness, so particularly middle distance to long distance events in athletics, can increase the risk of body image issues and body dissatisfaction. And in other research, we know that as athletes become more elite, so the higher the level that they get to, we see higher levels of body dissatisfaction. It is interesting to think what contributes to all of this, but all of the people involved in the sport have a responsibility and role to play in the forming and challenging of body image and eating culture. I think sometimes it's one of those things that people don't really talk about or aren't really sure why we should be talking about body image and the importance of it. But it is a very important issue to discuss, and I really want to highlight that it is not just an issue that affects athletes, but it is very much a human issue. So if you're a coach or support staff member listening today, some of these topics might also be relevant for you in your own personal life. We know from research in both athletes and non-athletes that poor levels of body image and high levels of body dissatisfaction can impact mental health, mood, sleep, eating habits, and potentially immune systems. So the consequences are not just related to performance and can actually spill out into all areas of life for an athlete. We also know that there's a strong link between athletes feeling unhappy or dissatisfied about their bodies and disordered eating and eating disorders. So when doing any type of prevention or raising awareness of these issues, it is important to also consider the impact the body image has on our athletes and talk about it a little bit more. I still feel concerned that men and those of maybe non-binary genders are often left out of the conversation, and it might be assumed that men don't experience negative body image. Just because this might be experienced differently from women or those of female genders, it doesn't make it any less valid or important. And I think the way in which we talk about body image has to be quite relatable to men. So I've tried my best today to make it really relatable to men. The pressures might be different on men, but the potential outcomes are the same. It might be time to stop assuming that boys and men are not affected by these issues. So the first kind of systematic thing I wanted to talk about and bring awareness of today is weight stigma. I believe it can be helpful to talk about some of the systems and beliefs that are in place in our society as a whole that can impact people's ability to feel comfortable in their own skin and things that prevent them from accepting from who they are. It's sort of just showing that not everything is our own fault, that there are things that are ingrained in us because society tells us it is true. Weight stigma can also be known as fatphobia, and it is a form of prejudice and stigma against those in larger bodies. Much like racism and other forms of prejudice, it can be very covert and have many forms. It can simply be described as the fear or hatred of fat people. Weight stigma is so prevalent in our society today, and it is important that I mention that I have no personal experience of weight stigma as I live in a smaller body. And I meet the acceptable society ideals and have not experienced prejudice because of this. I think it is important to say that much like the current increasing awareness of the prejudice, injustice, and inequality faced by Black and people of colour in our society, it's important that those who don't experience that directly are not centering their thoughts or experiences. So I will also be sharing some accounts on social media that you can follow, and they share the lived experience of those living in larger bodies, so you can hear in their own words what it's like. I am simply sharing research and trying to raise awareness of this issue and how it contributes to the fat-phobic society that we live in. Weight stigma can affect quality of healthcare, mental health, job status, and treatment of others. So challenging weight stigma and fat phobia. There are many ways that this can be done, but the main and most important as athletes, coaches, and support staff is to examine and reflect on our personal beliefs about weight, fat, and maybe think about some of our past actions and thoughts. Acting as an ally means being a voice for people when they realistically can't bring issues such as weight stigma and fat phobia to people's attention, partly because they are judged for it, and particularly when weight stigma and fat phobia is used inappropriately in the media by people of power or maybe people that are close to us. So that could be calling out people when they make inappropriate and hurtful jokes about someone to do with their appearance, particularly their body sizes, or supporting those in larger bodies in the workplace and within sport by not writing off ability or their ability to perform based on their body size. In my experience, I have found that weight-based bullying is very common in sport and particularly within athletics, and people often use it as a way of bonding. Within training groups, a bit of banter obviously can occur, but it is best to try and steer clear of these types of jokes that are weight-based if we really want to change the culture that we are living in. So what I want to encourage you is that a desire to be a smaller size or leaner form is not your fault. Much like weight stigma, we have all these beliefs, systems that are in place in our society that cause us to have the thoughts and feelings that we do in some way. In Western culture, we have a very narrow view of what is deemed to be a good body. And it could be argued that within sport, the range of what a good body is even narrower. The bodies deemed to be attractive in our society are thin, possibly for women, and maybe slimmer, muscular for men. Rarely are those in larger bodies portrayed as attractive in the media, and the constant exposure, to these thin and lean body types reinforces that thin and lean is the benchmark of attractiveness and the norm. And in terms of athletics and sport, the benchmark for performance, and it is deemed to be the norm for inclusion at a higher level. In reality, we know that the diversity and range of body sizes in real life and sport is much larger than what is portrayed in the media. We are conditioned as humans to compare ourselves to others, and it is a concern that young athletes are always weighing themselves up against their peers and professional athletes that they see on TV or Instagram. When these ideal body types, either seen on social media or through exposure to sport, becomes internalized, where the person or athlete believes that they are true and holds themselves to that standard of beauty. Like, for example, when a young athlete believes that to be successful, they need to have a six-pack or thin legs, or be of a particular muscular bulk size. This can cause more disordered eating habits and negatively affect relationships with food and cause general feelings of unhappiness with their bodies. We also know from research that people who are hung up or concerned about their body size or look are much more likely to struggle with other psychological problems, have weakened immune systems, as I said before, and poor sleep quality, which I think we can all agree will negatively affect performance for athletes and further highlights why body image is an issue that needs to be talked about more. All athletes doing athletics deserve to be happy in their own skin, Because as we have found, being hung up or overly concerned about body image is not a positive thing. It is not a performance enhancing experience, which is why I suggest that all athletes, coaches, and support staff get on board with creating more body neutral training and competing environments. I am also really hopeful that the current increasing awareness around the lack of diversity of skin colour in the media through the Black Lives Matters movement will help to change and mobilise society's beauty standards and increase the range of bodies that are acceptable in both normal and sporting societies. So what can we do to challenge and change the culture in sport? So I kind of came up with a little bit of a plan of action with just some suggestions of things that we can do that happen on individual levels, on a group level, and also as an organisation, sporting organisations like Athletics Ireland, Irish Olympic Committee, or maybe some other like smaller regional county organisations. So on an individual level, we can challenge and look at our beliefs and attitudes around weight stigma and fat phobia. We can also start our own body image journey in terms of trying to do the work on our body image and improve that. And we can also try and foster body image respect. On a training and group event level, we can try and encourage to have body neutral environments whereby we don't comment on other people's bodies and that everyone is welcome regardless of their body size. In terms of organizations, basically what they can do is put policies in place for the workplace and also for athlete and coach conduct and provide further education to promote and educate on diversity. This could be anything from, having clothing for our athletes whenever they're competing that is available in a variety of sizes, is comfortable to those in larger bodies, and also is acceptable for the activities that we are doing. It could also be policies around not requesting athletes' body weights when we are filling out forms, which I'll be talking about at the end. I was also going to talk about the athlete identity. It's kind of another side of the conversation. It's not really something that is necessarily directly to do with body image, but it's something in my experience of working with athletes that lots of people struggle with. Athlete identity, and it's an interesting one because it's often praised or encouraged in sport, but it can have negative consequences for athletes. So the athlete identity is the extent to which a person aligns with the role of athlete in their life. So while encouragement of this to some degree is great, those who fully identify as an athlete with no other things that really identify them run the risk of struggling more with eating issues, body image issues, and are more likely to find injury and retirement more difficult. I really want to encourage everyone here, including coaches and support staff, that athletes are human first and should be treated as such. So we're going to look at body image work and skilling up. As I said at the start, I want to try and stay away from using the word improving when we talk about body image, and I will explain kind of why that is. But coming up now, I'll be talking about and explaining some things that can be used to create more positive feelings towards your body and how to do the work to have a more positive outlook on body image. And I call this doing the work, and it involves skilling up and looking at different skills that you can use to improve how you feel about your body. So what we're kind of trying to aim for is a shift of mindset about body that goes from fixing to being. So this is where we view seeing bodies as something to be fixed and move towards acceptance and being who we are. Fixing could be described as weighing, measuring, counting, pushing against our thoughts and feelings, avoiding like feelings or situations and reacting to that, which could be reacting to feelings of body dissatisfaction by eating less or trying to control the way that we look. Being, which is what we're kind of aiming for, is noticing, having curiosity and acceptance about our bodies, being self-compassionate, having awareness, being responsive rather than reactive, and using values-based decisions to make the best decisions for nutrition for ourselves. Being is the aim for most of the skills that I'm about to talk about that are coming up, and they're aimed at enhancing your natural ability as an athlete to be more body neutral. And fixing as a concept and kind of like as athletes is a very common idea in athletics, but also sport generally. And it encourages that athletes and those that do sport are machine-like and not human. As I said, athletes are human first. While it also recognizes the human part and honors our athletes' needs. So the skills that we'll be trying to learn about and develop today are weight and worth, body respect, words matter, so kind of how we talk about ourselves, and self-compassion, mindfulness, self-care, and the development of a body image first aid kit. So we're going to enter our second pause, of today. And I would love if you could list some aspects about yourself that you really appreciate, or maybe you're learning to appreciate. And I know this might sound a little bit corny or uncomfortable for some people, but being able to list and reflect the traits and characteristics and values that you have that are nothing to do with your appearance can be very useful. So it could be a personal gift you have, like maybe your cooking skills, artistic skills, intelligence in a certain area, school or academic career, friendships, family. It really can be anything. Try not to rush and write down as many as you can think of. It might take more than 2 minutes, but just take the time to pause this video. So the purpose of that exercise is to help with understanding that your body shape and weight doesn't define us and has no bearing on our worth or value as a person, but also as an athlete. So it's important to draw attention to the fact and look at the other values and qualities that we have outside our body mass and weight. Detaching how we feel about our bodies from how we define and value ourselves is an excellent step in the journey of doing body image work, and a good skill to add to your body image toolbox. Many people shy away from appreciating the things that make them unique, and yet tend to regularly compare themselves with others to see how they measure up, and this is falling into the comparison trap. I come across the issue regularly that athletes believe that changing their bodies by either losing or gaining weight and to make themselves look like others will make them happier, perform better, and lots of athletes define their self-worth by the way they look like an athlete or aspire to that idea in terms of the athlete identity, which can show how body image and the athlete identity obviously tie together. Last week, if you haven't seen it yet, I chatted a little bit about weight and performance and how believing that weight and performance are connected can lead to disordered eating. And I also talked about my DGAF skills. And the DGAF skills are very important when tying into feeling neutral about weight and body, where basically you don't care about the number on the scales or what you look like. This belief of weight and performance can also contribute to poor body image and dissatisfaction. So self-worth or worth is the beliefs we have about ourselves. If we base some of that or all of that on the way that we look, our body size or weight, we might struggle more with body image or accepting ourselves. Trying to remember and reminding yourself regularly that athletes don't have to look a certain way and there's no one size fits all for athletes can be a very beneficial step to take. So how do you know if your body image maybe needs a little bit of work or if it's something that you're struggling with currently? So I want you to ask yourself these few questions. Am I motivated to train because of my body image? So for example, am I training to change my body or because I feel uncomfortable about my body image? BI means body image, by the way. I just had to shorten it, otherwise all the questions would have been too long. Does my body image change if my weight/shape changes? I think that's a really interesting question. And I think it would be the assumption for most people that body image is dependent upon what our size or mass is, like it might change. But actually positive body image and being body neutral is having where basically your body image is does not change when your body weight or shape changes. So do I train differently in response to body image concerns? So if you're having like some body image concerns or you're feeling uncomfortable about yourself, do you train differently? Is my body image influencing my mood? Like, is it making me feel down, unhappy? Or whenever I feel like have lost weight? Is that making me, happier? Do I change my eating habits in response to feelings? And so if you're answering yes, or sometimes, or maybe to 2 or more of these questions, it might be a good idea to look into how you can work on body image or using some of the suggestions that I have here. So mindfulness is something that has really taken off in 2020, and I feel like it has been the buzzword of the year. Especially since the start of lockdown and the coronavirus pandemic, lots more people have been shown to be using mindfulness apps and watching content on mindfulness on YouTube. So for those who don't know what mindfulness is, the intention is to bring attention to thoughts, emotions, experiences and sensations within the body and being non-judgmental about them. It can take the form of a formal meditation practice, but doesn't necessarily have to be that. It is often seen as a solution to anxiety or to help with difficult emotions, which it can be, but the main focus is that it is a tool that allows us to be more present and open to the emotions that we are feeling, and can really help in the transformation from fixing to being, which is the aim with our body image improvement. Overall, in research, it has been shown to increase self-acceptance, which, as I'm sure you can understand, is very much related to body image, and help in the management of depression, stress, and improve overall well-being. It is for these reasons that mindfulness can help in the accepting of difficult feelings or emotions about body image. So, for example, if events or situations are triggering negative body image thoughts or feelings, it can help with giving you space for reflection and preventing the fixing response that can continue the negative cycle of body image thoughts. I have found some specific body image meditation routines, which is part of the formal practice. And you can find those on YouTube, and they're aimed at people who are specifically struggling with body image issues. And these usually focus around the positive things that your body does for you and showing gratitude towards it. And doing that as a regular practice can really help about our feelings towards our bodies. There's also other apps available called Calm and Headspace, and I think there's one called the Smiling Mind that is also available. You can also do the School of Life on YouTube, which also provides some kind of formal meditation practices. And there is some free courses that are available on AwareNI, which if you're from Northern Ireland, they provide free guided meditation courses, which are live on Zoom and are really helpful. So I wanted to talk a little bit about self-care. And I think before I've even said anything about this, everyone is thinking about like bougie bubble baths, face masks, and it doesn't always have to look like that, but it can be if you want. It really is a little bit more basic than that though. It doesn't have to be anything fancy and could be as simple as saying no to some suggested plans that someone has made for you. And it is basically making time for being kind and gentle with yourself. Basically, good, honest self-care, which is very basic, is shown to be key to improved mood and anxiety symptoms for people. It might feel boring, however, I think that's a good thing to point out. It can be about ensuring you have enough downtime. Being busy all the time can feel good in some ways, as we feel like we have a purpose and have no time to sit and think about how we really feel. But making time for yourself to look after your body and recharge can be very important for allowing body image to improve, and may also enhance ability to train and compete. So I feel like that is a win-win when it comes to self-care. It might be a good idea to brainstorm some ideas that you can do to take good care of yourself. I am certain you will already have some ideas or already do some things in your life that allow for self-care. So please take some time to think about what that might be for you. So body respect for me ties very closely into self-care. Body respect is about acknowledging our body's basic needs for things and providing it with it regardless as to how you're feeling, and having true respect for your body as an athlete and a human. For athletes, that could look like ensuring you're eating regular meals and snacks, not under-fueling, using appropriate recovery strategies to allow your body to have the best ability to recover. But on a more basic and human level, it might include seeking medical help when needed for an ailment, carrying out basic hygiene practices, which can be as simple as showering or brushing your teeth. But another interesting one in terms of body respect is wearing comfortable clothing that fits. Clothing for athletes can often be a little bit of a stigma subject. We don't really like to talk about it all that much. And for athletes, this might mean training in clothes that fit you well and make you feel good, and also honors your body's need for like being cool and, you know, providing you with the kind of best space you can to train and perform. So this could mean you might need to go out and buy something new if you aren't currently feeling comfortable, but likewise, it's about not letting body hang-ups make us wear something that is uncomfortable. So that could be like keeping a t-shirt or tights on when it's warm, instead of giving our bodies the respect it deserves and allowing it to be cool in a crop top, skins, or shorts. So what do you do to respect your body? Ask yourself, I respect my body by, and start your answer. So I also talk a lot to yourself, the by words matter. So being yourself is a very improvement. Self-kindness, kindness we show towards ourselves might be more visible when we think about the way in which we talk to ourselves in our heads. Do you call or think of yourself as lazy, fat, ugly, unhealthy, or undisciplined, for example, if you're eating or doing certain things? Picking up on this kind of self-talk can be really useful, but like with mindfulness, it is acknowledging and reflecting on these without judgment, while also having some ways that you can reframe those thoughts. I wanted to also mention how we can try and change some of the cultural things to do with athletics as well. And one thing that I notice, and I'm passionate about talking, is about how people often comment on others' weight, body size, or general appearance in athletics and try to connect it to performance or their ability to perform. I mean, it happens lots of other times too, but for example, my least favorite situation in a non-athlete scenario would be maybe if you were eating something really enjoyable, and maybe people would often describe as unhealthy, and someone you don't even know says, "Oh, how do you eat that and stay so slim?" I mean, thanks, Karen. I'm just trying to enjoy my cake and peace. Now clear off. But honestly, comments like that say a little bit more about the other person than it does say about you. Anyway, I had an interesting conversation about this at the start of the week, and it might be a middle or long distance thing. I'm not sure. I haven't really heard many sprinters or throwers using this term. But why do we say, "Oh, you're looking in great shape"? You know, it implies that our body size and shape will mean that we can perform well. And it also continues to reinforce the belief that weight is important for performance, which it's not, and that good performance has a look. It doesn't. Well, it might seem silly, and I know some people will probably say, "Oh, what's the harm? Who cares?" It's about the little things to try and change our mindset and culture around bodies in sport. So why not start there? Changing the way we talk about other people's bodies and changing the way that we think about them. Can we think of something else that could be said instead? Instead of saying to someone, "Oh, you look in great shape," which clearly, you know, you're probably saying in a positive way. You think they're going to run fast based on how they're training. You could say, you know, "You're moving so well at the moment. You're looking so fast. You're looking so speedy in training." Or if it's someone who is a thrower or a jumper, you know, "You look like you've made great improvements there." It's not about commenting on that person's body size or weight. And instead of saying, "Have you lost weight?" just don't say anything. So having a little look at reframing some of those negative thoughts that can happen, and this is kind of putting some of the ideas together, thinking more kindly about ourselves and showing body respect, self-compassion, and body neutrality. So instead of saying, "I'm feeling bad about my body today, I'm not going to have lunch," that's showing how, in response to a negative feeling about body image, we are having an action that is a reduction of food. And that is something that we really want to try and remove and prevent. So instead of that, if you are feeling bad about your body, instead of actively reducing our food intake, you might want to say, "I respect my body and acknowledge I am feeling uncomfortable, but will honor its need for food." And that is because you respect your body. So another thing someone might say to themselves is, "I need to have a six pack to be a good athlete." We can reframe that as, there's pressure to look a certain way, so we are acknowledging the society pressure to look a certain way and the assumption that athletes have six packs. But I know there is no one way an athlete should look, and abs don't help performance. So sometimes people get a little bit stressed out about what they eat and associate that with weight gain. So, "Oh, I just ate a certain food, I'm going to gain so much weight." So we know that no one food causes weight gain, and if I restrict particular foods, I am more likely to want to eat more. Those are just some ideas of how you can try and reframe the thoughts around your body and the connection with food. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to ask if anyone has experienced some of those, it's all good, but it's a good idea to come up with some comebacks that you can try and challenge those thoughts with. So I want to try and put all of this together. And what can you do to improve your body image, and see how those things individually can play a role in making ourselves feel better about our bodies day to day. So what I want you to think about is having and creating a strategy or plan for the next time you feel like you're having a bad body image day or experiencing some negative thoughts or feelings about your body. The whole idea of this is that instead of responding to these negative feelings with actions to fix, we carry out the necessary steps to allow the feelings to pass and allow our bodies to be. In your language, what does that look like for you? How does it feel, and what can you do to recognize it that you're feeling bad about your body? And what does it feel like? What can you do to ensure what can you do to ensure you look after yourself during this time? I have come up with some suggestions. These might not be relevant for everyone, but it is important to work out your triggers and try to address the issues at hand. So one of the things you can maybe do if you're feeling bad about your body is to unplug. That could be either unplugging from social media for a while, unfollowing any accounts that increase these feelings. For example, they maybe only share certain images of one type of unrealistic body, or they maybe lack diversity. Unplug could also mean unplugging from certain people who make you feel a bit rubbish or talk about weight in their bodies, which can affect you negatively. It's also important that you remind yourself the need for body respect. So you can have a body respect reminder. It could be a little note on your phone highlighting that even if I feel bad about my body, these are the things that I need to carry out. So it's a reminder that this feeling of poor body image will pass. You still need to eat regular meals and fuel your body in a kind and compassionate way. Are there any specific meals you really enjoy eating or cooking that might help to make you feel better? We can also consider some mindful moments in there. What activities do you like doing that allow you to focus on the moment, accept negative feelings, and provide you potentially with a sense of calm when we're feeling a little bit chaotic? So look back at the mindful bit of this webinar to get some ideas of what this might look like. But it could be as simple as listening to some music, doing some drawing, using a meditation app that I mentioned, or doing some journaling. You could even try using the body image guided meditation that you can find on YouTube if you simply Google it. It can also be very useful during this time to find community and seek it out. This means finding and talking or interacting with people who share similar values of wanting to do body image work or showing themselves kindness or body neutrality. It doesn't have to be in real life, but finding an online community who understands can really help. So I kind of wanted to finish off with what exactly was body neutrality. So we have a nice little picture at the end. Body neutrality is accepting the body that you have, acknowledging feeling uncomfortable but not responding to it, not wanting to change your body, feeling neutral about body changes, not thinking about the body all the time, and respecting its needs. So how can you learn more? I'm hosting the final webinar in this series on the 19th of July, and I'm hosting this one myself. There's a small sign-up fee, and this is, in my opinion, the most important for individual athletes who are looking to use nutrition and performance to improve their well-being. We will dive more into the ways of supporting performance without resulting in disordered eating. What is the alternative to restrictive dieting strategies, and how to use less brain space when choosing foods? I would really appreciate the support on that one, and I will be releasing more information about that this week. I will also be running a series of workshops in September that are aimed at injured athletes. And I'm also taking on a very small number of clients at the moment if you want a high level of support, and you can email to get in touch. So I talked about sharing some accounts that shared perspectives of people who existed in larger bodies. And it is a good idea to try and diversify your Instagram or social media feed and the images that you're looking at on a regular basis, so that we have more beauty ideals to aspire to that are not just thin, muscular, and white. So some of the people that I've listed on the Instagram accounts here are great. I'd really encourage you to follow them. They do real body positivity work, and it's definitely an excellent idea to try and look into that. Some of the books that might be good to read, if you want to dive a little bit further, are Self-Compassion by Christina Neff, Just Eat It by Laura Thomas, and Body Positive Power by Megan Crabb, who is Body Posy Panda on Instagram. There's also some podcasts there. You can take a little screenshot or a picture of the screen and come back to it later. So if you want to connect with me, I am available. I have my Instagram page. I do have a Facebook account, but never really use it. And you can also contact me via email at the non-dietsportsnutrition@gmail.com. And that is the best way if you want to work with me on an individual basis to reach out. I put out a little bit of a call on my social media account on Instagram to see if anyone had any questions or any topics that they wanted covered with regard to body image. And I'll see how much time we have left. But I think I can cover a couple of those now. It was really great, so thank you to everyone for sending in your suggestions and your questions. I probably won't have time to go through all of them, but I will discuss a few anyway. So someone asked how to balance eating healthily for exercise. I read that wrong. How to balance eating healthily, exercising for health, versus for a good body. So as I said before, all bodies are good bodies, and that often what we define as a good body is within this very small range of ideals, and that is what society has placed on us to want to achieve in life. And it really is an interesting conversation, but it might be good for someone who's struggling with those kind of issues to hash it out and to have a little bit of a look more closely at what their beliefs are with a non-diet nutrition professional, or maybe someone who specializes in body image work. It is likely that a normal sports nutritionist wouldn't really specialize in that area of body image, so it might be good to seek out someone else. But yes, I think it comes down to trying to reinforce the idea that all bodies are good bodies. And if someone is struggling with this, I would try and work out where the idea of a good body has come from, good body, and what that might look like for them. Ideally, we shouldn't be training or eating certain things to try and achieve a good body as such, as likely this will lead to restriction and under-eating. And if you're an athlete, it is not beneficial to performance to necessarily pursue a good body. The optimal body for an individual for training and competing is the one that feels right for that individual and results in good performance without compromising on food enjoyment, your relationship with food, and your mental health. And I am assuming by good body this question, I'm assuming that good body in this question, they're meaning the socially acceptable one and the one that is desired by others. And I think I did cover this in the discussion around moving from fixing to being and understanding more about the society pressures in terms of beauty and body. But what I think this question actually really does show is that this person is acknowledging and kind of does accept that eating for a good body isn't healthy. So that was a good observation. The last question was, I won't have time to do the middle one. And I have thought a lot about this question in the past. So what should teens do when comparing their weight with that of professional athletes from Google? Now, I'll try not to go off on a rant on this one too much, but remember I was talking about how body image is the job of everyone involved in sport? Well, this is where the job of governing bodies and large corporations such as World Athletics and the International Olympic Committee comes in. While we can encourage athletes to build resilience around body image comparisons in the media, we can do that all we want. But I feel like information like publishing professional athletes' body masses online is very damaging. I actually brought up a similar issue with Jill from Athletics Ireland last year. It was a form that we had to fill in, and you had to give your body mass if you were on the long list for like a team kind of thing. Basically you couldn't skip it. There wasn't an option to say I don't want to fill in my body weight, but I was very, very grateful that she changed the form for me so I didn't have to fill that information in. But essentially what we need from organisations like Athletics Ireland and the International Olympic Committee and the Irish Olympic Committee is policy and conversations to change attitudes to body mass. Some people might be like, what is the big deal? Get over yourself. Who cares? But that is where I say no. This is a problem. If this information, which is, professional athletes' body masses being available online, is causing stress to younger athletes who see it, then why are World Athletics and the International Olympic Committee still asking for body mass from athletes when they're competing in the Olympics and publishing them on their athlete profiles on their websites? It reinforces the idea that athletes' weight matters, and this can contribute to negative body image and concern over their individual body size. And we need policies in place to stop the collection and publication of unnecessary information like this, and powers from the likes of Wikipedia to remove weight information. From my research into this area, when you just search the name of any female athlete in athletics, not every female athlete, but a lot of them, their body mass appears on the Wikipedia page at the top of the search results. So what does that say about athletes? That they are machine-like and we should know all the specifications and details about them. In terms of an individual athlete, what can you do? If you see this information and it makes you feel uncomfortable or makes you feel the need to change yourself, why? Try not to be too quick to judge yourself or fall into the comparison trap. Think about some of the things that I've spoken about in this webinar. Is it time to reach out the body image toolkit? It is not useful or appropriate to be comparing body masses with that of someone found in Wikipedia. And finally, I feel I don't need to clarify this, but I've seen athletes express in the past that this information on Wikipedia is simply false. It has either been guessed by someone and put on Wikipedia or was from a long time ago. I know that it is kind of American culture in the NCAA system to collect athletes' weight and height, and this is published quite regularly. I've seen other athletes express annoyance at this in the past about being published on Wikipedia, and they claim they don't even know where the numbers are come from. But realistically, we need to have better resilience towards seeing these things and trying to rationalize it in our heads. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you tuning in today. If you have any other general questions for me after watching this, please get in touch on Instagram. I will host another little Q&A once this webinar is published. So thank you very much. Bye.